welcome to Latest Installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet, the daughter.
And I'm Kevin, the dad.
And this week, we're doing a bit of a special episode because we found out one of our favorites from Star Trek Deep Space Nine recently passed away. And while Dad technically has the album downloaded on his iPod, I'm the one who owns the physical album. But we wanted to do a tribute episode. So this week we're doing This One's from the Heart by James Darren, aka Vic Fontaine on Deep Space Nine. So Dad, what do we need to know?
We need to know that James William Ercolani was born June 8, 1936 in Philadelphia and grew up in South Philly. By the age of 14, he knew he wanted a show business career. He started singing in nightclubs in Philly and South Jersey. At 18, he was in New York studying acting for several years with drama teacher Stella Adler.
Oh, wow.
Darren was discovered by talent agent and casting director Joyce Selznick after he got some photos taken by Maurice Seymour to show potential agents. Seymour's secretary, Yvonne Bouvier, no relation to Jackie or Marge, asked him if he wanted to make movies. He said yes. She knew Selznick and set up a meeting between the two. Selznick was working for Screen Gems at the time. According to James Darren, on my way to meeting Joyce, we happened to get on the same elevator at the same time. She kept staring at me. I never met her. She never met me. We got off the same floor and walked to the same office. That was our meeting. Joyce brought me over to Columbia Pictures about a week later and got me a contract there. It was long-term, 7 years. His first film was a B-movie, Rumble on the Rocks. His appearance was well received, and he got a lot of fan mail. He wound up with a supporting role in Operation Madball, which starred Jack Lemmon and Ernie Kovacs. And I've never heard of that.
Okay.
His next movie in 1959 was Gidget,
Yep.
in which he played surfer/Gidget's love interest, Moondoggie. Sandra Dee starred as Gidget. James also sang the title track. At first, the studio was looking for someone to sing it whilst James just lip-synced, but he told them he could sing it. He also sang all the other songs in the movie. Gidget was a hit, and so was the title track. He'd go on to play Moondoggie in 2 sequels, Gidget Goes Hawaiian and Gidget Goes to Rome.
Oh, boy.
And apparently it was a different woman playing Gidget each time.
Huh.
He was also in the big-budget World War II movie The Guns of Navarone, which won an Oscar and a couple of Golden Globes. James would record for Colpix Records and get some hits. His biggest was Goodbye Cruel World, which went to number 3 on Billboard's Hot 100 toward the end of 1961. It sold over 1 million copies. His other notable big hit was Her Royal Majesty, which, according to your mom, some guy that Aunt Andrea was dating would play this on the jukebox at some place whenever she walked in.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yep, go figure.
Huh.
Now, he also started doing voiceover work for Screen Gems, Hanna-Barbera Animation Unit. He appeared as James Darren, yes, in the Flintstones episode Surfer Fred.
I saw that, yep.
Okay, and was the singing voice for Yogi Bear in Hey There, It's Yogi Bear. After his contract with Columbia was over, he signed with Universal. He starred in For Those Who Think Young, which co-starred Nancy Sinatra. James would later go on to be the godfather of Nancy's daughter, A.J. Lambert.
Yep, they're very close.
In the 1970s, James Darren performed regularly in nightclubs and guest starred on a lot of TV shows, such as Love, American Style, SWAT, Charlie's Angels, Hawaii Five-0, The Love Boat, and Fantasy Island. Also in the 70s and early 80s, he hosted a PBS series called Portrait of a Legend. He'd conduct an interview with a popular musician about their career, interspersed with classic performance footage of the artist. Some artists who appeared were Jerry Lee Lewis, Sly Stone, Little Richard, and Herb Alpert.
Okay.
Now, from 1983 to 86, James Darren had a regular role as Officer James Corrigan on the TV police drama T.J. Hooker. William Shatner was T.J., which stood for, wait for it.
I think I know what it is.
You want to take a guess?
Don't tell me it's Thomas Jefferson.
It's Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, God. I wanted to be wrong.
You are not wrong. Darren directed some episodes, and this launched his career as a director. Shows included Beverly Hills 90210, 90210?
90210.
Something. Melrose Place, reuniting him with T.J. Hooker co-star Heather Locklear, Hunter, and The A-Team. Then Star Trek Deep Space Nine came calling. Executive producer Ira Stephen Bear wanted to introduce a Rat Pack style character he called Vic Fontaine as part of a program run in the holosuites of Quark's Bar. Casting director Ron Surma contacted Frank Sinatra Jr., who turned down the role because he wanted to play an alien.
No.
Junior, another wrong career move.
No.
Then they tried for Steve Lawrence in the 5th season, but he was unavailable.
That would have been interesting.
Meanwhile, Bear and Hans Beimler wrote an episode called His Way, which they were determined would be part of season 6. Those interviewed for the part were Tom Jones, Robert Goulet, and Jerry Vale.
Okay, all interesting too.
Yeah, I think though with Tom Jones or Robert Goulet, people would have been looking at them saying, that's Tom Jones or Robert Goulet.
What's he doing here? Yeah.
Jerry Vale might have gotten away with it. Bear and a friend attended a memorabilia show at the Beverly Garland Hotel in North Hollywood, where James Darren was signing autographs. Originally, he did not want to attend the show, but was convinced otherwise. Bear was very charmed by Darren and wanted to offer him the role on the spot. Bear's friend talked him out of it as he thought Darren would think Bear was crazy. Now, Ron Surma got in touch with Darren, who rejected the role not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Wow.
Because he thought having a real singer play a role as a singer was too, and I quote, on the nose.
But it worked.
Darren's agent finally convinced him to read the script.
Yeah.
And he read it 10 times to absorb Vic's personality enough to avoid memorizing lines.
Yeah.
Darren came in for casting and started talking about knowing where to get appropriate tuxedos and how he actually had a pair of Dean Martin shoes that he could wear.
Hire this man.
He also avoided reading the script at rehearsal as he hated cold reads. He started improvising lines, leading Bear saying at one point, "Man, it's funny, I wrote a line just like that for Vic." After Darren left, Bear told the other writers how good Darren was, but they should still see other actors.
Just to be nice.
Yeah. Hans Beimler told Bear he was out of his mind. He said Vic Fontaine was just in the room. He's the guy.
Yep.
Darren would star as Vic in 8 episodes spanning the 6th and 7th seasons.
It was only 8?
It was only 8.
It feels like so much more because he's such an iconic part of the Deep Space Nine universe now. Wow.
And that was also including the series finale, What You Leave Behind.
Yeah.
Vic would dispense with romantic advice to crew members and had a habit of calling people pallie.
But it wasn't ever shitty romantic advice.
No,
It was
he was
good.
smart. Yeah. In 1999, he released the album This One's From the Heart. In 2001, he released Because of You, a collection of songs associated with Tony Bennett. In 2019, he released a live album, Live for the first time.
Oh.
James Darren died on September 2nd, 2024 from heart failure. He was 88. Now, as for me, I vaguely knew of him. I mean, I can barely remember the Flintstones episode.
Could you remember Yogi singing?
No, I never saw Hey There, It's Yogi Bear.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just watched the cartoons and that sort of live action movie.
Oh,
I think
Ed
you and I
Harris?
saw it.
No, we saw it on DVD at home. Yeah.
I thought I saw it in the theater.
Nope, we got it on DVD and brought it back home.
Okay.
It wasn't
That's
that good.
What, Dan Aykroyd and Justin Timberlake as Yogi and Boo Boo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't that impressed. Anyway.
However, I really wanted to watch Deep Space Nine, and John Torregrossa,
Yep.
he had the complete set on DVD, which he picked up at a garage sale for $1.
Oh my god.
I know. He let us borrow it, and we watched the whole thing.
Yep, we
all
did.
3 of us.
Yep.
And I gotta say, out of all the Vic Fontaine episodes, my favorite is Bada Bing, Bada Bang.
Where they have to save his club?
Yes.
That's my favorite one too.
Which is kind of like Star Trek's version of Ocean's 11.
But also, it was the last season, and we needed a breather because it was getting intense.
Oh, it was so intense, I know.
And the writers just threw us a bone with that one, saying, hey, let's have a fun Ocean's 11 episode. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, as for the album, like Juliet said at the beginning, this is her album. I just downloaded it. So why don't you tell the listeners how you came to pick up this album?
I really liked James Darren's voice when I heard him as Vic Fontaine on Deep Space Nine, and I wondered if he had an album out. So I went on Amazon, I looked it up, and it was all American standards that I really love, so I bought it. I like the cover of it because on the cover of that album, you see a glint of light that's coming from the piano, but if you didn't know that was the piano, you could also think it's a glint of light from the hollow suite. And I liked the jacket. I liked how he thanked Ira Stephen Bear and the Deep Space Nine crew for rekindling his love of singing. And I love the album. But I remember when I first got it in the mail, I'd been putting on sunscreen. And so when I opened up the package and I held the CD in my hands, it got sunscreen imprints on it. And you can still see them faintly if you hold my physical copy of the CD. But I really like it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you can get it on Amazon for 3 figures.
I got it for, I think, $15 to $20 when I first got it.
Yeah, I think probably was like once he passed on, the price just shot up.
Shot through the roof, yeah.
Okay, now One for the Heart came out in June 1999.
One from the heart. You said for the heart.
One for the Heart? One from the Heart. Sorry. I can't read my own typing. One from the Heart came out in June 1999, the month you were born.
Yep.
James Darren sang 11 of the 17 songs on DS9 episodes.
Yep.
Peter Matz arranged most of the songs.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, he worked with Barbara in her early albums, for which he won some Grammys, and he was also the orchestral conductor and music director for
Carol Burnett.
From 1971 to 78.
Yep.
Now, reviews of this album on jazz websites are mixed.
Really?
Because on his Wikipedia page, I scrolled down to the bottom for the album, and there were 3 different websites. All About Jazz seems contemptuous that James Darren sang songs closely identified with Frank Sinatra. Their thing was like, Frank sang them, so no one else should. How dare you?
Oh, piss off.
I know. That's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Jazz Times, out and out, hated it.
Oh, really?
Hated his voice, hated the material.
What?
Hated the music arrangements. You name it, they hated it.
They just hate everything, I guess, huh?
I guess. Now, I gotta say, allmusic.com gave it an even-handed review, saying that James Darren suffered from unfair and unnecessary comparisons to Frank, because I guess they must have read the other reviews. So let us dive into this, and I will also mention which songs came from TV episodes.
I'll try to as well. If I miss any, just let me know. Okay, first track, The Best Is Yet to Come. Every Trekkie remembers this song as the duet between Vic Fontaine and Captain Benjamin Sisko. After the crew of Deep Space Nine bands together to save Vic's club from a jack-in-the-box programmed into his system as mobsters hell-bent on breaking Vic's kneecaps, Vic and Sisko share a duet to surprise their friends. I think this is a perfect start for the album because it's happy and joyful, and as Darren returns to a singing career that makes him happy, he's bringing us along for the ride saying, you guys have no idea what's in store because I'm going to keep singing and we're going to have fun and have a great old time. He also sticks to the arrangement he sang on DS9, so it hits Trekkies with a wave of nostalgia. Great opening track. Now, Dad also sent me a cover that Bob Dylan did. As for Bob, I didn't think his cover would work, but he does sound like one of those old jazz singers who smoke too many cigarettes and they're singing their greatest hits at a seedy, smoke-filled nightclub, so it kind of does work, but it's not the go-to rendition I would listen to.
So this is from the DS9 episode, Bada Bing, Bada Bang. This is written in 1959 by Cy Coleman and Carolyn Lee. Frank Sinatra recorded it in 1964, and there's been a lot of covers. And I kind of associate this song more with Tony Bennett.
Really?
I've heard his version a lot more than Frank's. So, there you go. And yeah, Bob recorded his in 2017, and it's not as bad as you'd think.
It's not, yeah.
And apparently he got I'm going to record the Great American Standards book. And apparently he did 3 volumes. Like he did them individually, and then someone mushed them all together as a 3-disc set called Triptych. So there you go. I think James acquits himself well. To me, on this song, he kind of sounds like a combination of Tony and Frank.
I can hear it.
Leaning more towards Tony. But I don't think he's trying to imitate either one. That's
No.
just his voice, and that's the way it sounds, and it sounds great. I have no problem with it at all. And the big band arrangement is fine, and it doesn't overwhelm him.
Next track, Come Fly With Me. This is the first instance of the album where you get Darren doing an almost carbon copy cover of Frank. Granted, there are some slight differences with Darren's performance style and no strings section on the Angels cheer lyric, but it's the same key and musical arrangement. And because of that, in my head, I hear Frank's voice overlapping with his. It's still pleasant, but if I had to choose between which one to listen to, it's no contest. Frank takes the cake.
This is from the DS9 episode His Way. The song was written in 1958 by Jimmy Van Heusen and Sammy Cahn at Frank Sinatra's request because he recorded it in 1958 as the title track to the album of the same name. And it was one of his concept albums where he would sing about different locations in the world. So this one was Come Fly With Me. He hated the cover, though, because he thought it looked like a TWA ad.
Which I can see.
Which it does, but I don't think it's bad. I think they nailed it. So obviously Come Fly With Me opens his album. And you can't get around it. It's Frank's song.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's also been a ton of covers. And James does a good job. He has a smooth voice. It's not as powerful as Frank's, but so what? And the band, they do swing.
Next track, That Old Black Magic. The version of this song that's always been my favorite is the Louis Prima Keely Smith duet, ever since I first heard it on the Simpsons episode, The Great Simpsina, where Lisa learns to be a magician. I love that one because the brass section makes it fun, and Louis and Keely have a playful chemistry that makes their rendition fun to listen to, not to mention how they play with each word lyrically. As for James, his slower tempo always throws me off because I'm not used to it, but you could argue he's savoring the sensations he's getting by looking at this person. The music is where the fun comes in, with the horns playing the low notes and then a bridge that layers in each instrument one at a time. I still enjoy listening to this one, but Keely and Louis will always be my preferred rendition. As for Sammy Davis Jr., that opening really catches you off guard, but vocally he's having a passionate ball and that made me giggle, although the spoken word at the end threw me off and I didn't like it.
Okay. This is written in 1942 by Harold Arlen and Johnny Mercer for the movie Star Spangled Rhythm. And yes, of course, I'm going to keep saying this a lot, but there are tons of covers out there.
Yep.
And they have versions by Sammy Davis Jr. and Louis Prima with Keely Smith. And yep, no problems with Louis and Keely, but to me, this is Sammy Davis Jr.'s song. He just kills it. Probably because I've heard his version the most. And the thing was, like, the version I sent you is a little different from the version I have.
Okay.
I tried really hard to find the version that I have. It's on a Rhino collection I have. It's a 4 CD set called Sentimental Journey.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess Sammy re-recorded it at some point, but I just cannot find that Rhino version. But yeah, I think he just kills it. And yeah, that ending is kind of like a little odd.
Yeah.
But you know what? James isn't Sammy. He doesn't do any of Sammy's vocal gymnastics, but he's still feeling it. And once again, the band is swinging. But I mean, Sammy, I think he just owned this song. It's like he just went for it. He just put everything out there. I mean, sometimes it almost sounds like he's making fun of it. But
Yeah, I can hear
I think it's more like he's just having a fun time with it.
Okay. Next track.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
By the way, the song appears twice
Really?
on Star Trek Voyager.
On Voyager?
7 of 9 sings it in the episode The Killing Game, and the Doctor
Yeah.
actually sings it in the episode Virtuoso.
Okay, that explains the YouTube comments I saw in that song where people were saying that the Doctor and Vic Fontaine should have teamed up and done a duet.
Ooh, a holo duet.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of crossovers, to sidetrack really quickly, It's Always Sunny is crossing over with Abbott Elementary, which I think is interesting.
Always Sunny's still in the game, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm really hoping Netflix gets them.
Well, they're on a Hulu
Damn it.
because of FX and Disney. Anyway, back to the album. Next track, All the Way. Okay, this is where Darren gets to let his acting chops shine, because this is a ballad where the musicians have to hold themselves back so his voice can shine through with sincerity. At its heart, it's a song about the importance of commitment. If you really love someone, you have to go all the way with your caring and devotion. I get swept up in the romance of the song as James promises to love this person through it all, and his sincerity moves me. Oh, and Trekkies will also remember this song when Worf asks Vic to play this after Jadzia's death, as it was her favorite song, and then he trashes the bar in grief, which, full disclosure, I didn't believe that Worf and Jadzia were the be-all, end-all. Him and Kalar were endgame, let's be honest.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of unusual.
It was.
Well, anyway, this is from the DS9 episode Image in the Sand. And the song was written by Jimmy Van Heusen and Sammy Cahn in 1957. Frank sang it in the movie The Joker is Wild.
Okay.
And, yep, there's covers galore out there. But to me, this is Frank's song. Not only because he did it first, but he did it the best.
Okay.
I'm sorry, James Darren. I'm just sorry. You did a solid job.
I love James
And
Darren's though. That's my
yeah,
favorite.
and I think he has a nice sympathetic arrangement.
Yeah.
And it's like both the singer and the band, they get this song.
Yeah, they do. I
But
get
it's
you.
Frank's.
Next track, Paper Moon. Mom used to sing me this song all the time, and I heard a duet that Dean Martin did with I can't remember who. It's not Lena Horne, but it was basically a white woman who looked like Lena Horne. I can't think of it, but I'll find it on YouTube at some point and
Not
watch
Shirley
it again.
Bat.
Shirley Bassey?
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta Google it later. Anyway, this song is also sad if you think about it, with the singer stating that without this person's love life is a sham. But damn, it's a fun song to sing. Fans also remember this song as the episode title, Paper Moon, where Nog, the Ferengi, is experiencing PTSD after losing his leg in the war and tries to escape into the Hollow Suites by staying in the world of 1960s Vegas with Vic and refuses to go back to reality. And at the end of the episode, he gives Vic the gift of living a full life by ensuring that his program will continue to run 24/7 even when someone isn't actively using it, which he's grateful for. This is also a cover where the key change really works, and it's my favorite rendition of the song.
Oh, okay. This was written in 1932 by Harold Arlen, Billy Rose, and Yip Harburg for the unsuccessful Broadway play The Great Magoo.
Oh, well, that's a title.
That is.
Wow.
Magoo will get you in, Magoo will get you out.
And no relation to Mr. Magoo, right?
Right. That wasn't until like the late 50s, early 60s. Anyway,
Anyway.
Ella Fitzgerald had a hit with Paper Moon in 1945, and Nat King Cole had a hit with it in 1956. Frank's came out in 61, but I've never really associated this song with any one person. Anyone could do it, and so, for me, could be James's song, since his is the version I've heard the most. And by the way, if you haven't seen the movie Paper Moon with Ryan and Tatum O'Neal, highly recommended.
That's not, I was getting confused with that other movie that he did. Is it called Persona? That Ryan O'Neal did? The one that he's most famous for, where he says love means never having to say you're sorry. It starts with a P.
Oh, that's Love Story.
Love Story. What am I thinking of? No, Persona's the Ingmar Bergman movie, but there's a movie that he did that starts with the letter P, and I forget the name of it.
I don't know, but also in What's Up, Doc.
Yeah, they referenced that.
And that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Which I think, credit to him for being willing to, poke fun at that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Love Story and Paper Moon. I think I was thinking of Paper Moon. My bad,
But you should see Paper Moon.
And see Persona, too. That's an intense movie, but you should see it anyway. Next track. I've Got the World on a String. Okay, I know Dad is going to have thoughts and feelings on this cover because I've Got the World on a String is one of his go-to comfort songs. So much so that when the National Review's music editor put out a survey for feel-good songs, Dad suggested this one and made it into the article. And I tried to Google the article for proof in case anybody wanted to read it, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, I think Darren's is happy, peppy, Vegas-y fun, but Sinatra's musical arrangement sets itself above, because it starts out slow, like he's savoring how everything is going well and he can't believe it, then a slow acceptance. Plus, Sinatra gets to have more vocal fun here. Not that James isn't having fun himself, you can tell he's enjoying getting to make this album, but Frank has more vocal improvisations that create a more fun vibe. And compared to Frank's, yeah, Frank's is better. Sorry, James. Again, you're doing a solid, but people are going to compare. I'm very sorry.
Doing a solid, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is from the DS9 episode, It's Only a Paper Moon. The song was written in 1932 by Harold Arlen and Ted Koehler. This was first recorded by Cab Calloway in 1932. And again, tons and tons of covers. I have versions by Louis Prima and Frank Sinatra. And Louis, as most of all his songs are, it's manic and it's frantic. But he has fun with it. I mean, he even throws in the line at one point, now if I could only sing like Bing, that would be something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In fact, this was one of the first, if not the first song Frank recorded when he moved to Capitol Records from Columbia in 1953.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm finally going to get critical here.
Okay.
I think James's version is too laid back.
Okay.
And I felt like he wasn't connecting with the lyrics and their meaning.
Really?
And the same with the arrangement. I thought, kind of a clunker here. I mean, it's okay, but it's like, this is Frank's song all the way, no pun intended. Because I think Frank just exuded confidence and he was in total command of the song. And I think it had a lot to do with him being freed from Columbia because
Oh, okay.
it got to a point where Mitch Miller, who anyway was in charge of A&R and other stuff he shouldn't have been in charge in at Columbia, said that he couldn't even give Frank records away. Well, if you'd given the guy better material, you know. So, you know, he moves to Capitol and he had more of a say in the material that he was recording. And he said, after hearing a playback of I Got the World on a String, Frank went total George Costanza. I'm back, baby. I'm back. And the thing was, he was.
Yep.
He was so back.
I think that with James Darren, you could argue that if he's too at ease of it, it's just he's relaxed where it's like, yeah, everything in life is going my way. I'm going to slow down and I'm just going to enjoy it with a drink in my hand, leaning and reclining in a chair on the beach.
Okay, I can kind of see that, but,
Yeah, but
I
I
think
get what you mean,
it's a little too laid back for my taste. And
Okay.
Frank,
Yeah, I agree. Frank's is better. Next track, You'd Better Love Me.
or else.
It's interesting. I always thought that this song was about someone trying to teach the object of their affection to appreciate them while they're still in their life and to show some gratitude. Like I was watching an episode of Dracula yesterday where he says to the person he's seeing, "Someday, madam, you'll realize I was never playing," and leaves. But also, with the right actor, this song could be manipulative depending on how you choose to play with the words. I also think this song would be interesting in a Cinderella jukebox musical set in the 1950s, like You Better Love Me Before I Run Away at Midnight. I think James has the most fun when he syncopates with the rhythm on the lyric, "You want me to, and I know that you do," and he keeps his voice intentionally quiet to create a playful intimacy. A cute cover where he also gets to have more fun with some vocal scatting.
Okay, this was written in 1964 by Hugh Martin and Timothy Gray for the musical High Spirits, based on Noel Coward's play Blithe Spirit,
Oh, I didn't know they made that
which
musical.
kind of has an unusual plot where, like, this guy's, he's got married for the second time and
Yep.
his dead wife comes back.
She's
and
kind of
she's
haunting the
trying
new
to,
wife.
like, kill him so he can join her in the afterworld.
Yep.
Anyway, the musical ran for 375 performances
Okay.
and was nominated for 8 Tonys.
Huh.
Unfortunately, this was also the same year of Funny Girl and Hello Dolly.
Oh, so it didn't stand a chance.
So it won none.
Ah, sorry, High Spirits. If it had been another year, you might have done better.
You'd Better Love Me While You May, Tomorrow I May Fly Away. This is sung by Charles's late wife Elvira, played by Tammy Grimes in the musical. And Tammy was once married to Christopher Plummer, and their daughter is Amanda Plummer.
Yep, I know.
I did not know that. As for James, he actually has fun with this song. You know, the kind of fun that he should have had with I Got the World on a String. So it's kind of like he made up for the previous song. And I love the bada bas he throws out at the end. And the thing that gets me is it's all done and over in a little over 2 minutes. And I thought, great song. Just knocked it out of the park.
Next track, Sophisticated Lady. Oh, God, I love this song. I love the minor key and how all we hear is the soft piano and melancholic trumpet in the opening. I don't think it ever lives up to that wistful opening, but what a powerful song. A woman falls in love young and the love dies, so she hardens and becomes a sophisticated lady who's always smoking, drinking, never thinking of tomorrow. A cold beauty who is aloof and above it all, but inside is still bleeding and deeply broken. And James plays the lounge singer who sees right through the persona because he knows how soft she becomes when no one sees her. A pensive lounge song that doesn't make you sad but makes you reflect, which is why I love it so much, and the way he sings "Oh No" at the end makes your heart break. The perfect touch. As for Rosemary Clooney's, it sounds self-reflective and you just feel like you're intruding on a private moment.
This was written in 1932 by Duke Ellington as an instrumental. Mitchell Parish added lyrics in 1933. Duke liked them, but said that they didn't fit his original conception, which was 3 of his grade school teachers. He said, they taught all winter and toured Europe in the summer. To me, that spelled sophistication. Apparently, Mitchell Parish got something totally different out of this. It's a jazz standard, so of course, there's umpteen versions out there. And yeah, I always thought the Rosemary Clooney one, like you listen to her sing it, and I'm thinking,
she's so depressed.
and it's like, she's looking in the mirror and she's singing this.
Yeah, and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I should be here. I'm just gonna shut the door.
Yep, and let's remove the alcohol and pills from the room and
Yep.
leave her to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like James is more an observer of the sophisticated lady. It's like he really feels for her, but he's definitely not gonna get involved.
No, he's smarter than that.
And I think it's a great performance, and the arrangement is very intimate.
Next track, Just in Time. Now we're back to Peppy. This song is dedicated to all the wonderful people who came into our lives when we were feeling down, and suddenly life seems a hell of a lot better. This would be a fun first dance song at a wedding. I think so, anyway.
I can see that.
A joyous rendition that makes you smile.
This is from the DS9 episode, It's Only a Paper Moon. The song was written in 1956 by Julie Stein, Betty Comden, and Adolph Green for the musical Bells Are Ringing.
Oh, yeah.
Which was made into a movie in 1960 with Dean Martin, who sings the song.
And who's the female lead in that one?
I believe it's Judy Holliday.
Okay.
I think we saw it a long time ago.
Once, yeah.
Yeah.
She plays like a phone operator who lies about a bunch of stuff.
And so does Dean.
Yeah.
But it all works out in the end because it's a happy musical. Just like real life. Anyway, Frank recorded his version a year earlier in 1959 for his album Come Dance With Me. And I've heard Dean's version a lot more than Frank's, so I consider it Dino's song. And to me, James comes across flat. I don't know. Yeah, I wish I could pinpoint exactly what it is. It's like there's something missing. I don't know what it is, and I'm sorry I can't like get into specifics, but
it's just a feeling you have.
I wish I could be able to verbalize it better than that, but it's just
Okay. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm in the right order. Okay. Next track, I've Got You Under My Skin. We talked about this song on our episode covering Frank Sinatra live with the Red Norville Quintet. This one sounds more loving because one, Darren sounds happy, but two, there's real emphasis on this person stealing his heart. And it also makes him, well, not makes him, it also sounds like him not thinking that this affair will last is just his intrusive thoughts trying to make him a pessimist. And I like the moment where the music cuts out as he sings the word stop and seems like the feelings are smacking him in the face with a start. Very sweet. But I also don't think we need a fade out here. As for the Four Seasons, I like the musical arrangement they chose for the instruments and the singers. It might actually be my favorite version.
This is from the DS9 episode His Way. The song was written in 1936 by Cole Porter, and it was first performed by Virginia Bruce in the movie Born to Dance. It was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song, but lost to The Way You Look Tonight.
Oh, well, yeah.
Totally reasonable.
Yep, which is the next track on this album, but we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there. Frank first sang I've Got You Under My Skin in 1946 on his weekly radio show. He first recorded it in 1956 on his album Songs for Swingin' Lovers. And then in 1963 for Sinatra's Sinatra, because he had moved to Warner Brothers and they let him start his own label called Reprise, and he just re-recorded a lot of the stuff that he had done for Capitol. And then he finally did a version in 1993 with Bono for Frank's Duets album. Now, here's the thing.
Oh, yeah, they weren't together in the studio.
Right, they were all electronically assembled.
And it shows, you can hear it, because there's just no chemistry whatsoever with any of them.
And it's also how Bono got away with the line, "Don't you know, you old fool, you never can win."
No, he wouldn't have dared say that if they were in the studio. Frank
I'm pretty sure he would not have sung that in front of Frank in the studio.
Plus, also, Frank just sounds so emotionally checked out throughout that whole album. Like, yeah, it's a paycheck, Pallie.
Now, Barbara ended up doing a duets album, right?
Yeah, she did.
But she had most of the people with her, or was it the same?
Mostly all of them were in person, except when she did like the Natalie Cole thing where she did one duet with a recording of Elvis, which that actually sounded pretty good, duet of Love Me Tender. And then she did one of Who Can I Turn To and Nobody Needs Me with Anthony Newley because they were friends and lovers for a while. And most of it sounds fine, but there are a couple of points where you can tell that she's singing along to a recording. But all the other duets she's done, oh, no. One she didn't. When she did a duet of The Way We Were with Lionel Richie, and when she did another one, New York State of Mind with Billy Joel, but the editing was really, really good. And I think we can also thank Babyface as a producer for making sure the sound quality was good on that one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have Frank's 1956 version, and they also have Louis Prima and Keely Smith's Manic version, and the Four Seasons. And the Four Seasons, theirs was the first version I ever heard as a kid. I had no idea what the name of the song was or whatever, but I remembered lots of bells and percussion and big sounding production.
And Frankie doesn't sound annoying in this one.
No, he doesn't. But your mom thinks it sounds like a Muppet at the start when Frankie Valli does this and I can kind of see it. We're not talking like one of the A-Team Muppets. We're talking like maybe a B or a C-Team
like the Phenomena Muppet, yeah.
Yeah, an anonymous Muppet who just like flings his arms out and goes
like the kind that you would see when it's like somebody's doing a ballad on the Muppet Show and they give it a random Muppet for like the duet portion.
Yeah.
To make it silly.
Yeah. As for James, I think he has his own what I'd call unique phrasing. And to me, it seems off and wrong, but it also works, if that makes sense. I mean, that's why I'm like, it's like, this shouldn't work, but it does.
Okay, next track, The Way You Look Tonight. The sweetest version of this song I heard, and I can't find it on YouTube, is when Tony Bennett sang it for Carol Burnett when she received her Mark Twain Prize. And Ralph Sharon was on piano. It was absolutely lovely. But Trek fans will remember Darren's version when he sings it on the last episode of Deep Space Nine as he pays tribute to his friends before they all say goodbye. The best little joke is when he goes up to Kira Nerys and sings How That Laugh Wrinkles Her Nose, because for those who don't know, the Bajoran aliens have ridges that go down their nose and look like wrinkles. Even without that context, this song is a classic, timeless, romantic piece. It makes you feel good when you hear it being sung.
So yeah, this is from the final DS9 episode, What You Leave Behind.
Yeah.
And it was written by Jerome Kern and Dorothy Fields for the 1936 movie Swing Time with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Fred sings it, and it won an Oscar for Best Original Song. Frank recorded his version in 1964 for the album Sinatra Sings Days of Wine and Roses, Moon River, and Other Academy Award Winners.
That was the full title?
Yes.
No, that needed to be edited.
Yes.
Sinatra Sings the Oscars or something.
Frank's is the most popular, and it's also the most imitated. And as for James, well, you know what? I put his version right up there with Frank's because it's that good, so come and get me, Jazz Times.
Next track, Here's to the Losers. James's rendition will always be my favorite. Again, it's a similar arrangement to Sinatra's, but I heard James's first and he uses more key changes than Sinatra does. I love the message of this song. Here's to the losers, the people who keep getting kicked down by life, but get back up and do it all over again because they're going to keep trying, god damn it, and you got to admire them for that. I'd love to sing this on stage one day like a drunk person monologuing as one of the losers. That'd be so fun to act and perform. Also, something I noticed here, the bass player sounds like a low straitjacket player on their Christmas album if you listen to it.
Oh, okay.
And one other note that I just thought of now, the most impressive cover that I heard because of how time-sensitive it was when Seth MacFarlane was hosting the Oscars one year, and he did a duet of this song with Kristen Chenoweth, and they did not know the lyrics until they got up on stage to sing it because this was to the people who lost the Academy Awards, which nobody knew who was going to lose until, the envelope is open and you read, and the winner is... So they had to sing about all the losers while that song was being written in real time and cast on the prompter.
Oh, man.
Which, that was impressive.
They pulled it off?
They did. You would never know that they pulled that out of their butt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from the DS9 episode, Tears of the Prophets. The song was...
Which one was that?
Tears of the Prophets.
No. What happens in that episode?
I think prophets cry.
I'll Google it. Keep talking.
Okay, this was written in 1963 by Robert Wells and Jack Siegel. Frank recorded it in 1964 on his album Softly As I Leave You. He recorded only 3 songs for that album, though. The other 9 songs were culled from various early 60s sessions, and Here's to the Losers being one of those songs. So it's kind of like Frank's version of the Rolling Stones' Tattoo You. We've got all these tracks lying around. Let's see if we can make an album out of it. Now, you'd think with a title like that, it'd be a ballad, but it swings. And sacrilege here, I like James's version better. I think it swings harder than Frank, because Frank, he was starting to enter a period where he was doing it by the numbers, only until he hits that very last note. It's like he remembered, hey, I'm Frank. The
Mm-hmm.
only error James makes in the song is he sings the line as to the lovely summer lovers instead of to
To
the
the
lonely.
lonely.
I
I
think it should have
noticed
been the
that.
lonely summer lovers,
Yep.
because that's a big difference.
Yep. Also, I looked up the episode. It's the final episode of season 6, where we all know what happens with Jadzia. I'm not going to spoil it, but
Don't spoil it.
it's the one where they attack the wormhole and the prophets are victims in the firing line, and Cisco ends up leaving Deep Space Nine to take a leave of absence on Earth and leaves Kira in charge. So I was like, oh, okay, I remembered his bits and pieces were coming back to me. Okay, next track. You're nobody till somebody loves you. Dean Martin's original rendition works better because of the melancholy. It suited the episode of Freaks and Geeks that it was used in perfectly. There's also a great rendition Dean Martin does with Sinatra and Judy Garland that I love. Google that one when you can. This cover isn't that great. His singing is fine, but emotionally it doesn't go anywhere and feels repetitive. But you could also look at this song being an encouraging version to motivate you to find someone. In that case, it works, but I prefer Dino.
Mm-hmm. This is from the DS9 episode His Way. The song was written in 1944 by Russ Morgan, Larry Stock, and James Kavanaugh, and it was first recorded in 1946 by Russ Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And again, more covers out there. Dean Martin's, I think, is the version that's best known.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank recorded his version in 1961. But for me, it's Dean Martin's song.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
just is. James' version isn't as scoopy as Dean's. Well, you know,
I know
Dean
what
has
you
that
mean.
quality in his voice. But then again, no one else is as scoopy as Dean himself.
Yeah.
But I think James gets the point across very well, and the band really swings on this one. And at the end, you know James isn't going to be expected to hit that high note
Yeah.
that you think is coming, but I think he made up for it okay, but definitely Dino's song.
Next track, Dancing in the Dark. I know we're here to talk about James, but that saxophone solo kicked some serious ass. Makes me wish he let the instrument show off more. Darren's rendition is about being able to make it through life as long as you have someone by your side, but you could also look at it as being completely lost in the dating world until you find the right person. I quite like this cover a lot. As for the SNL sketch of the same name with Steve Martin and Gilda Radner, that was a hilarious parody of movie musical dance sequences. Go watch it if you haven't already. And I think the one that they were parodying in particular, because I heard the music from it, is one that Fred Astaire does with Sid Charisse, where they're dancing in a park and then they collapse in a carriage. I don't know what movie that is, but
I'm going to tell you what it is.
what is it?
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Dancing in the Dark was written in 1931 by Howard Dietz and Arthur Schwartz and first appeared in the Broadway review, The Bandwagon. I had to look up what a review was as opposed to a musical.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I forgot what it was, but
You can Google it
it,
again.
it doesn't have a plot.
Mhm.
It was also used in the 1953 MGM movie version starring Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse. Interesting fact, Sid Charisse was the aunt of Nana Visitor, who played Kira.
Really? Wow, that's a hell of a connection.
Yep. And again, there's been tons of covers. Frank recorded his in 1959 on his Come Dance With Me album. And yes, Steve Martin and Gilda Radner did their version of Dancing in the
Which
Dark
is awesome.
on Saturday Night Live in 1978. And they ran it again in 1989 because it was the day Gilda died and Steve was hosting SNL. And I remember seeing that. He came out and he was just like so close to losing it.
Oh.
And they played the whole sketch, and after it was over, he was saying, you know, Gilda, I miss you, and I also can't believe how young I used to look.
She would have liked that.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what they do for SNL 50 this year.
Well, the first episode was last week.
Coming up, yeah. Well, I mean, if they have like a special like they did for SNL 40.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they'll have to.
Maybe it'll be at the end of the season. Anyway, James Darren, yes, he's the guy whose album we are reviewing.
About,
yes,
yeah.
What about him? Yes. He and the band swing pretty easy on this one. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, with Dancing in the Dark, I mean, just that title, you think it's going to be like very slow.
Or you also think of that movie with Bjork that's really dark and disturbing.
Oh, okay.
Jess and Andrew reviewed it once, and it's not for the faint of heart, that movie.
Yeah, she said that she would never, ever, ever make another movie again after working with Lars von Trier.
Yeah.
And you can also think of the Bruce Springsteen song from 1984.
Which I haven't listened to. Is that good?
Well, if we ever do Born in the USA, then,
Okay. Yeah, it's got like 392 million views on YouTube for the music video.
Really?
Yeah.
So 392 million?
Yeah.
That's a lot of views.
Yeah. Well, he's the boss.
Which is why we don't have 392 million views.
Because we're not Springsteen. Anyway.
That's a lot of views. Listeners out there, see if you can get us to
393 million.
I'll even settle for 39.2.
That'd be funny. All right, next track. Night and Day. I find this cover to be pleasant enough. I listen to it when it comes on in the car, but it more so washes over me than absolutely vibing with it.
Mhm.
Decent one, but not one with a great emotional effect on me. As for Frank's disco version, I don't hate it. I find it kind of fun. Let that old Italian man have his fun. I really love it because it embraces what it is and how silly it is. And I'm just like, you know what? Hell yeah, I'm dancing to this.
Ugh. Anyway.
It's supposed to be silly. It's fun.
It was the 70s. Maybe Frank was a little, had a few more drinks than he normally did. Okay, this was written by Cole Porter in 1932 for the Broadway musical The Gay Divorcee, starring Fred Astaire.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, once again, tons and tons and tons of covers out there because it's Night and Day, which is looked on as like the #1 Cole Porter song in the American Songbook.
Mm-hmm.
Frank himself recorded it 5 times, including
a disco version
in 1977, which you can find on YouTube.
Yep, and on Spotify.
And I'm gonna say it, it's as dreadful as you would think it would be. And yes, I know it was the 70s. And yes, if Ethel Merman could put out a disco album, I guess Frank could at least make one disco song anyway. And I think Cole Porter spins a little faster. And your mom, I played this for your mom, and her reaction was, I didn't think anyone could possibly ruin Cole Porter, but I was wrong. And you know she loves her Cole Porter.
Yeah, I remember there was also a Sondheim Goes Disco album that came out recently, and I was like, okay, this one misses the point. Sondheim's and disco don't really mesh together.
And the thing with Frank was, like, the version that I sent you was on an album called Frank Sinatra Rarities, Volume 3.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh my God, how much other horrid stuff that was never meant to see the light of day is out there. I mean, this is for, like, hardcore collectors only. I mean, if I never hear it again,
you'll be happy.
It'll still be too soon. Anyway, James Darren had the good sense not to do a disco version. He swings lightly, and it's okay. He and the band get in and out in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but I tell you, it is hard to top Frank's 1956 version with Nelson Riddle. It's easy to top the disco version, which, I mean, I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, well, maybe it's like his duets, like someone came up with this disco backing track and they just took like some random recording.
Slapped it on there.
But I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, oh no, I think he sang this specifically
yes, he did.
He did.
Let that old Italian man have his fun. It's just silly.
You know, you got the, I don't know, maybe he saw Saturday Night Fever and thought, hey, John Travolta, one of my people, disco, it's this Italian thing. I'm gonna...
Sure, okay.
Ugh.
Next track, I'll Be Seeing You. As far as I know, not many covers use those opening lyrics of Cathedral Bells Were Tolling and Our Hearts Sang On.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate it when someone does use them. Most covers of this are wistful, but James is reliving the happiness of his memories at the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, and the wishing well. So maybe his lover isn't dead, maybe they're long distance or something. But if you want the sad one, go for Frank. I like James's take, though. It's quite refreshing, and I did send you the voice play one, which I thought was beautiful, too.
I did listen to that.
What'd you think?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
It reminded me of kind of like the Manhattan Transfer.
I can hear it, yeah, but better.
Now, Vocative, does that mean there's 8 people in this group, or?
I think there's more than 8 now. They've had members come and go over the years. I subtract, yeah.
So this was in 2 DS9 episodes. The Siege of AR-558, that's the one when Nog loses his leg, and It's Only a Paper Moon. This was written in 1938 by Sammy Fain and Irving Kahal. It was first recorded in 1940 by Dick Todd. Frank recorded it a couple of times, and I danced with Nana to Frank's version
Yep.
when your mom and I got married.
Mhm.
And if I had to do it over, I'd pick something else, but I'm not sure what. So, I mean, the reason I picked I'll Be Seeing You was because I kind of looked at it as like, I'm sort of saying goodbye, but I'll still be around.
I'll still cut your grass.
Yeah, I was just. I'll cut your grass. I'll empty the dehumidifier.
I'll repair the sidewalk.
Yeah. But I mean, I did hear some mother and son songs that I thought were just wildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
So, listeners out there, if you know of like any decent mother son songs, not that I'm going to redo Getting Married, but just throw them out there. I'd be interested.
Okay.
I thought the interesting thing was that James and the band do it as a ballad for the first 45 seconds. I think because of that intro that you mentioned that people rarely sing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just let it swing for the rest of the song, which I think works great.
Okay. Final track, Satin Doll. This was a weird one to end on, and I'll Be Seeing You would have been better. I could see this lyrically working better as a duet with the call and the response to the lyrics, but you could look at this as Vic finally gets the girl and leaves the casino on the holodeck, so that one could make sense. But I'll Be Seeing You would have been better. Although hearing him ad-lib some lines as Vic at the end talking about blasting off into space got me a wee bit emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of the few songs that was not sung in any DS9 episode. Anyway, it was written in 1953 by Duke Ellington, Billy Strayhorn, and Johnny Mercer. Now, get this. Duke wrote the main themes and asked Billy Strayhorn to come up with lyrics. He did it as a tribute to his mom, whom he called Satin Doll.
Ew.
I thought, yikes, that's a
Well, if you want an inappropriate mother-son song, this is an inappropriate one.
But somehow, Billy's lyrics never got recorded, and they actually got lost.
Huh.
Which,
Maybe that's
wonder,
a good thing.
I don't know why. Anyway, in 1959, Johnny Mercer was asked to write lyrics. Lots of versions out there, but Wikipedia did not list one by Frank, so really this could be anyone's song. And you know why Frank didn't record this?
Why?
Because I thought the lyrics were corny. Speaks Latin, that satin doll. Out cattin', my satin doll. This is one of those songs where, like, how many words can we find that rhyme with the word satin? And James, I think, is trying his hardest to make chicken salad out of chicken shrimp. I didn't think his rap at the end of the song helped much, and even though you enjoyed it,
I did. I was like, oh, hey, it's Vic.
But after this, yeah, I agree with you. I think the album should have ended with I'll Be Seeing You.
Correct.
That would have been totally perfect.
Overall, I'm really glad we covered this to pay tribute to James Darren on Deep Space Nine. Most of these covers are really fun to listen to, even without the context of Star Trek surrounding it. If Vic Fontaine was your introduction to American standards, then it was a great stepping stone. Do yourself a favor. Listen to this album to hear some great renditions of American classics, and go watch Deep Space Nine. You won't regret it.
Yeah, this isn't a bad collection. But when I was listening to it on headphones, what really brought out for me is that in some spots, James was really trying hard to reach certain notes, and I'd wonder, is he going to make it?
And then he didn't do it.
Well, some of them he would.
Did,
yeah, some he would, but like the strain was kind of showing a little bit. But what the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to make anyone forget Frank, but I thought overall he did a decent job. And, you know, if we did a letter grade thing, I'd give him a B. And definitely check out his appearances on DS9, or better yet, watch the whole series, because at one point they decide, hey, we're going serial. So if you miss an episode,
you're not going to know what happens
You're
next.
out of luck.
Yep. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest song of my dad listens to this. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Because remember, the more you interact with the video, the greater chance we have of appearing on the YouTube homepage.
392 million hits, people.
Beat Springsteen, we can do it. All right, if you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with my dad, email him with what you want to listen to, and I'll send it to your inbox. As always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. We'll be back next time with another album to pick and gripe about. Dad, anything you want to say before we sign off?
James Darren, rest in peace, Pallie.
See you around, Pallie.